Hey, what's going on guys? It's HawksNest here, back with another Call of Duty mobile video. Now, in today's video, what I wanted to do is essentially just rank all of the weapons currently inside of Call of Duty Mobile, and that includes all of the weapons that you can get for free, as well as other weapons that aren't currently accessible, but you could buy in the past. Now, the reason that I'm actually doing that right now is because very soon Season 7 will be coming inside of Call of Duty Mobile, Season 7 of the Battle Pass, and Season 5 of Ranked. And with these updates, we're also going to be getting a lot of weapon changes and all of that, and I haven't really done a video explaining my thoughts on the current meta and just what the guns look like inside of this season. So I thought I'd make this video now and then basically do a updated version with the ARs, SMGs, LMGs, all the guns essentially in the future, after we actually get all of the balance updates inside of COD Mobile. If you guys are curious to see some of the balance changes that are coming very soon, you guys can check out the video that you're seeing on your screen right now. Essentially what I did in that video is I tested all of the weapons that will be getting changes inside of the test server, and basically updated you guys on what weapons were actually changed. But this video will be based on the current state of Call of Duty Mobile, currently on Season 6, and for me right now it is May 30th, 2020. So if you guys are wondering how I'm going to be ranking the weapons, obviously I know like all of the stats for the guns, I know the damages, the fire rates, all of that information, but I don't want this video to be stacked full of stats and all that, so I thought this would be a little bit more opinion based. But still, I will be thinking very objectively and making my decisions based on the stats of the weapons. I won't be telling you the stats, but based on what I know about them, I will be ranking the weapons in that way. And I will be ranking them based on the gameplay of the weapons as well, and then also just on what the meta kind of looks like and how other people think about the guns as well. So I'll actually try to make this list with as little bias and as little opinion as possible. I'll try to make it as objective and factual and statistic as possible. But obviously that's going to be pretty hard because some people might like a gun and then some people might not, even if the gun is really good or something. So after this video, if you guys want to make your own list, I will leave the link down below so you guys can see exactly what I'm looking at on my screen right now, and you guys can basically rank the weapons in whatever way you guys would like to. So the way that I'll actually be ranking the weapons essentially is by number 1, the versatility of the weapon, so just how good is it in all kinds of situations, as well as number 2, how good is it in its prime use. This is something you might have heard Ferg say quite a few times. I think he says effectiveness in prime. So for example, like the Pharaoh is not versatile at all, but because it's extremely good at close range, it would be ranked a good gun. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. So as you can tell, we have all of the weapons here, and even though some guns might have like their epic version or like the blue version, so as you can see, like the M16 is blue, the HBR-A3 is purple. The only reason it's like that is because that's the only version of the gun I had. Otherwise, I just did the normal common variant of the weapon. And also it's in alphabetical order, so we're just going to be going based on that order. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. Alright, so the very first one is the AK-117. Now, this one is tough for me, and I might even adjust it as we go. But personally, just first impressions, I would say it's an A-tier gun. I think it's super good, but I think there is guns that do what it does a little bit better, I guess. Next up is the AK-47. I kind of think the same thing. And by the way that we'll rank these is left to right is better. So left is better and right is worse. So if we have guns in the A tier, I'm not saying they're all the exact same. I'd say personally, like the left side is better. And then the farther you go to the right, the worse it gets. So the top left would technically be the best gun and bottom right would be the worst technically, but obviously it's hard to say there's a best gun, but hopefully that kind of makes sense. But yeah, so AK-47, I would say A tier as well. It kind of depends on your skill set. If you're really good and you can control recoil really well and also hit headshots, the AK-47 could be super good. And also if you know how to tap fire pretty well, it's solid. But I definitely think there's guns that kind of outclass it. I would even maybe say B tier, but I think we'll leave it in the A tier because it really does depend on how good you are with it. Next up is the Arctic 50. I'm going to put this thing in S tier just because I think this is one of the few guns in the game that is actually broken. I don't think this gun should be the way that it is. It's honestly because like it's basically a Locust, but it shoots way faster. Like it's a better version of another gun, which there should never be. It should never be like that inside of COD. Guns should be different, but there should never be one gun that is just better than other guns essentially. But yeah, so I would say Arctic 50 is one of the few guns that actually needs a nerf right now. So I'm gonna put it in the S tier just because once again you can one tap in from the stomach up, which is absolutely insane, and you can just spam fire. So if you miss your first shot or you hit him in the legs, the second shot will come out basically instantly. Next up is the ASM-10. I'm gonna put this in A tier as well. I'm gonna put it above the AK-47. The ASM-10 can actually 3-tap without a headshot, whereas the AK-47, to kill someone in 3 shots, you have to hit a headshot. So the ASM-10 is a lot easier to use, I guess, but because it has a very slow fire rate, if you do miss your shots, it's extremely punishing. So it is another weapon that you have to be very good with. But if you are really good with it, you can definitely make it a A tier weapon, or even I'd say S tier if you were like a God tier with it, or or god tier player with it. But just for the general rankings, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the middle of A tier. Next up is the PK57. Now, I personally like this more than the AK-117, so I'm gonna put it in the high A tier. I think this weapon is on the bridge of A and S. It kind of depends on how you play with it, obviously. But just based on my opinion, I do think it is an A tier weapon. It has really good long range, mid range is super good, close range is good, but I don't like the mobility of the weapon. I think it's definitely a weapon that you like to hold locations with, and it's not something you act super aggressively with. And I also think that's due in part to the iron sights not being super great, so it is kind of opinion based with that, but personally I think it's an A tier weapon. Next up is the BY-15. BY-15 is tough for me because it is a shotgun, so the versatility is terrible, but in terms of the other shotguns, the BY-15 is the most versatile, has the best range, and you can definitely kill people super fast up close. I mean, it's an instant kill if you can get the one tap. So personally, I'm gonna put this in A tier as well. We're gonna put it a little bit lower just because, again, the versatility is terrible, but because it's super effective at close range, I definitely think that it is a high tier weapon. And if you're really good with it, I mean, you could compete with the very best players pretty well with the BY-15. Next up is the ChiCom. I'm gonna put this, some people might hate me for this, I'm gonna say D tier, high D tier. We might adjust as we go, but I think currently we'll put it at D tier. I think this weapon is usable. It's versatile for an SMG, kind of, but it's just like, the thing about the ChiCom is like, it can do long range, it can do like close range, like it can do things, but it doesn't do it good, you know what I mean? Like, there's no real benefit of the ChiCom, and I think that's why it's a D tier weapon. Next up is the Cordite. I think this will be our second S tier weapon. Personally, I think the Cordite is the most versatile SMG. There's another SMG that a lot of people might argue is more versatile, but I think right now with its number one, really good hipfire, almost broken hipfire, number two, it's really solid recoil, and number three, it's really good time to kill, which is a combination of its damage and its fire rate. I think overall it just makes for a definitely top tier SMG, and overall I'd say a top tier gun in the game. I wouldn't doubt if they nerfed it also. I don't think they should necessarily. I don't think it's too broken, and if they do nerf it, it should be a very small nerf, maybe like a small hipfire nerf or something. But yeah, definitely right now where it is, it's a S tier gun. Next up is the DLQ. We'll put this on a low S tier. I mean, if you're really good with the DLQ, you can smack people, but obviously because it's a sniper, it takes a pretty high skill set to actually be able to play really good players with this weapon. And I think the Arctic 50 is a little bit more versatile in the fact that it scopes in faster and you can shoot faster, but in terms of its prime, I mean, the DLQ can instantly kill people, and it's not super difficult considering you can one-shot basically anywhere above the hip. And I don't know, I mean, people know the DLQ, you know if you're good or not with it. It's like, I don't know, I think S tier is definitely where it belongs, but I think the Arctic 50 is above it just because the Arctic 50 is a little bit more versatile, and just like, it's so easy to use. You just point and shoot and people die. It's really a disgusting gun. I don't like it at all where it is. Especially if people use the tactical scope on it too. It's disgusting. Next up is the GKS. Now, I actually compared the GKS and the Cordite earlier, and I realized that the Cordite kills at every range faster than the GKS. So a lot of people say the GKS is better at long range, but personally, I like the recoil of the Cordite a little bit more, and it kills faster. So overall, I think the Cordite is just kind of like a better GKS. Not to mention to it, the Cordite has a way bigger magazine and tighter hip fire. So again, I think the GKS is kind of like the ChiCom, where there's just like, it's not the best at anything, and it's not that versatile. It's a good gun though, so I don't think it's like a C or D tier. So I think probably we'd consider it a B tier gun, just because again, I think it's usable, I think it's really good, but the Cordite is just a better GKS essentially. One thing I do like about it though is the iron sights are really clean, but again, the magazine is too small. It kills decent, like at decent speeds, but Cordite kills faster. And the recoil is solid, but again, I think it's just not, it doesn't make up for all of the other like meh traits of the gun. Next up is going to be the HBR. Now this is the gun that everybody has been asking for, and we actually will be getting a free version inside of season 7. If you guys are wondering how to get it, you're going to be able to get it by getting Pro 3 inside of multiplayer. But anyway, this gun has really easy to control recoil in my opinion. Some people say it's kind of hard because it goes pretty high, but because it doesn't kick to the side very much, I think it's really easy to control. The more you use it, the more you get adjusted to it, the more you'll get better with it essentially. And not to mention the time to kill up close is just like an SMG, if not a lot faster than an SMG. Mid-range time to kill is really solid, and then long range is, it doesn't have a good time to kill at long range at all, but the recoil does definitely make up for it. So I definitely think the long range it's usable. But anyway, with the combination of all of these things, I would definitely consider this a S tier weapon. I would put it above the Cordite personally. If you throw like a laser sight on this thing, it kills faster than the Cordite up close, and the hip fire is pretty similar to a Cordite's hip fire, if you have a laser sight on the HBR. So overall, I think it's just a really, really good gun, and I think right now it is the best AR. I definitely think they should nerf it, but maybe a little, and they shouldn't do it when they give it out for free, maybe like a month or two after like everyone's had a chance to use it. But yeah, so that's my current opinion on the HBRA3. Definitely a S tier weapon. Next up is the HD40. Now, I think people hate on the HD40 a little too much. It's not great, but it's not unusable. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely a solid weapon if you know how to use it and you know how to play around it. I think it's better than the ChiCom personally, but not by much. So I probably put it like here in C tier. I'd say the GKS is like, I don't know. So this is what we're gonna do really quickly, just out of curiosity. So what we're going to right now is my website. We're going to the COD Mobile Guns section, and I just really quickly want to see what the time to kill comparison is of the HD40 and the... Okay, so in terms of the time to kill, so how fast the guns actually kill. Yeah, honestly, it seems like the GKS is just a better HD40. Because, like, time to kill wise, yeah, I mean, and the fire rate is pretty much the same. GKS is actually a little bit faster, too. Okay, the HD40 damage is a little bit higher, but 25 damage and 28 damage are basically the same thing, considering they're both 4-shot kills. But 28 damage will be a little bit better sometimes, like if you're wallbanging someone or you're shooting someone that's low HP, it will be a little bit better. But for the most part, they're pretty much the same thing. And I mean, the recoil, too, is really similar. HD40 is easier to control, but they're both pretty dang easy to control, if we're being honest. Yeah, I mean, the GKS and the HD40 are pretty similar, if we're being honest here. I'm gonna go ahead and put the HD40. I think where we had it was fine. I think C tier is fine, just below the GKS. I'd even say maybe B tier on like the low end. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and put it in the C tier category. Now, next up is the HS0405. Now, this thing's had a lot of buzz lately because YouTubers have been making videos on it. Specifically, Ferg has made quite a few videos on it, kind of showing off how, number one, it's not a great gun, but it can be a good gun if you're very accurate and have good movement. So I definitely think in the hands of the correct player, it can be a good gun. But also, it's just like, it's a worse BY-15 if we're being honest. So I don't think there's really any point in using it, like, if you're trying to have a competitive advantage. But if you're trying to have a good time, it is a fun gun to use, just considering the, like, the lever action of the gun is really cool, and also it's just a shotgun, so it's going to be pretty fun to use. So I definitely think they need to do something to this thing to make it like more versatile and actually be like an option over the BY-15. But right now it's just like a fun alternative to the BY-15. So honestly, I think we're probably going to put it in C tier, but it is a fun gun to use nonetheless.